Shishma Bhakti Sangam Bhagavad Ki Jai. Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chanda Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Advaita Chanda Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, Chapter 9, Verse 44. Mali Manusha Amar Nahi Rajadhan. Mali Manusha Amar Nahi Rajadhan. Bala Fula Diya Kori Punya Upajan. Bala Fula Diya Kori Punya Upajan. Chant.
Mali Manusha Amar Nahi Rajadhan.
Mali Manusha Amar Nahi Rajadhan. Ladies. Mali, gardener, Manusha, man, Amar, my, Nahi, there is none, Raja, kingdom, Dhana, wealth, Phal, fruit, Fura, flowers, Diya, giving, Kori, do, Punya, piety, Uparjana, achievement. Translation. I am merely a gardener. I have neither a kingdom nor very great riches. I simply have some fruits and flowers that I wish to utilize to achieve piety in my life. Purport. In performing welfare activities for human society, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu presents himself as not being very rich. This thus indicating that a man need not be rich or opulent to act for the welfare of humanity. Sometimes rich men are very proud that they can perform beneficial activities for human society, whereas others cannot. A practical example is that when there is a scarcity of food in India on account of meager rainfall, some members of the richer class very proudly distribute foodstuffs, making huge arrangements with the help of the government, as if merely by such activities people will be benefited. Suppose there were no food grains, how could the rich men distribute food? Production of grains is completely in the hands of God. If there were no rain, there would be no grains, and the so-called rich men would be unable to distribute grains. to the people. The real purpose of life, therefore, is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Goswami describes in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that devotional service is so exalted that it is beneficial and auspicious for every man. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also declared that to propagate the Bhakti cult devotional service in human society, one does not need to be very rich. Anyone can do it, and thus render the highest benefit to humanity if he knows the art. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu takes the part of a gardener because, although a gardener is naturally not a very rich man, he has some fruits and flowers. Any man can collect some fruits and flowers and satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotional service, as recommended in Bhagavad Gita. Patram pushpam phulam toyam yo me bhaktya taraham bhaktya paritam Vishnami Payatatmana, BG 9:26. One cannot satisfy the Supreme Lord by his riches, wealth, or opulent position, but anyone can collect a little fruit or flower and offer it to the Lord. The Lord says that if one brings such an offering in devotion, he will accept it and eat it. When Krishna eats, the entire world becomes satisfied. There is a story in Mahabharata illustrating how, by Krishna's eating, the 60,000 disciples of Durvasa Muni were all satisfied. Therefore, it is a fact that if by our life, pranay, by our wealth, our thai, by our intelligence, jiha, or by our words, vacha, we can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, naturally the entire world will become happy. Therefore, our main duty is to satisfy the Supreme Godhead by our actions, our money, and our words. This is very simple. Even if one does not have any money, he can preach the Hare Krishna mantra to everyone. One can go everywhere, to every home, and request everyone to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Thus the entire world situation will become very happy and peaceful. Mukam karoti vachalam bhagam namyate gahim yakipamtamam vande Sri Guru Nitanam. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjala Shalakaya Chakshurveditam Yena Tassamai Shri Gurave Namaha. When I was in Germany, I saw they had one program where they go to people on the street and they ask, please chant this mantra one time. This is for the peace of the world. And people do it. They'll just chant, and they're very happy to do it. They just chant, this will bring peace to the world. If you just chant, if you just say this one time. So that's what Prabhupada is saying here. One can go everywhere and request everyone to chant Hare Krishna. Even if you don't have money, you can preach, just say Hare Krishna once for me. And then they hug the person sometimes, and they have videos of each person chanting Hare Krishna, all kinds of different people. It's a very successful program in Germany. It's Golopadam. They're doing this. So we can do that also. Now, here's the attitude of the devotee. Lord Chaitanya said, you have no excuse that you have nothing to offer. You can get a fruit or a flower from anywhere and everywhere. You have no excuse saying, I don't have money. You can offer something you can offer. So this is the attitude of the devotee. Prabhupada tells the story of Sanatana Goswami. He had his deity hanging in the tree, and he was offering a japati, and the deity was complaining, you're offering me japatis and not even giving me any salt. But Sanatana Goswami said, where am I going to go? I'm living in the forest. I cannot get very wonderful things. Please accept. And he had to accept, because he was offering with love. And that's what this verse, offer me with love, Vishnami Bhakti Paritam, a fruit, a flower, even water. So it is interesting, at the beginning of creation, the demigods wanted to make an offering to the Lord, but there was nothing to offer because it was before Garbhodakshaya Vishnu came. There were a few demigods. There was no universal form. All the pieces were there, the nose and the eyes and the mouth, but they weren't put together. And so they had nothing to offer. so this is still during the time of Sarga, and there are parts of the body, and they're wondering, how are we going to make an offering without anything to offer? So in response, the Lord enters the universe. And so what do we have then? We just have the Lord's body. And so then all they had to offer was just parts of the body of the Lord, and how they're going to do that. But they did it mentally, they didn't do it physically. And so we are all dependent on the Lord for our maintenance. And the Lord reciprocates with our offerings by giving everything we need. And in Bhagavad Gita, he says, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. Everything emanates from me. And the wise who know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. And so, Prabhupada, in the purport of that verse, Prabhupada says, everything is made from my bodily limbs, and I am therefore the original source of all creation. So there's the principle that everything we see in this world, this is the form of Krishna. And so if we understand this principle that everything we see is Krishna or belongs to Krishna, then what will be our behavior? We'll take the things of this world and we will offer them to Krishna. So everything we offer is from the Lord's body, but when we offer something, even though it is His, and it's not different, it belongs to Him, He becomes pleased with us. Just like when my son Govinda was a small baby, 5 months old, and I was feeding him. He was a big boy. I had to give him brains at the age of 4 months. So I was giving him some cereal. And then one day, he took the spoon out of my hand, stuck it in the cereal, and stuck it in my mouth. And I was so happy. I said, oh, well, he loves me. So Krishna is like that when you take the things that they're not yours, they belong to Him, and you offer it to Him, He becomes pleased by the act of devotion. And so this is the attitude of the devotee. And when I was a pujari in Calcutta Temple, we didn't have a lot of money, we didn't have opulent worship, but one thing we had was flowers. We had lots of flowers. Every day I had one man, he was donating 50 garlands. 4 kinds of champa, jasmine, rose, mogra, all kinds of fragrant flowers we had. And I would change the flowers 5 times a day. And when we had one the altar of Radha Govinda and Gauranga, Radha Govinda, other side was Jagannath. And on Radha Govinda's side, 2 bumblebees would come every day and circumambulate the deities and sit in lotus flowers. I used to have 144 lotus flowers every day and 144 roses. And they would sit inside the lotus flowers. And on Jagannath's side, we had small bees coming, and they would sit on the garlands of the deities. And I was reading Bhagavatam 3rd canto. I thought, wow, it's just like Vaikuntha. We have one side Vaikuntha, one side Goloka, because you know the story about Radharani and the bumblebees. And so the bumblebees were coming on Radha Govinda's side, and the small bees were coming on Jagannath's side. And Prabhupada said, if the bees are coming to the worship, to the deities, then Krishna is pleased with the worship. So this is the attitude of the devotee. We try to please Krishna with our simple flowers and fruits. And the dresses weren't so nice when I first became Pujari, so we were trying to cover them with the flowers too. So that's what we did. We had flowers, and Krishna likes flowers. And so now the second point is talking about offering. We might wonder, why should I offer to Krishna anything? And why should I? What are the reasons? In one purport, Prabhupada says that while the impersonalist wrongly concludes that he is the Lord, the personalist, out of gratitude, worships the Lord, knowing perfectly well nothing is different from the service of the Lord. Nothing is different from the Lord. So we should offer out of gratitude that Krishna is providing us with everything we need. He is providing us the air to breathe. He's providing us with a place to stay. He's providing us with a tongue to eat and to chant. He's providing us with this body and the food for the body, prasadam. So Prabhupada says that when human society is grateful to the Lord for all His gifts for the maintenance of living entities, there is certainly no scarcity or want in society. So when I was in India in the 70s, I came to India in 72, there was a shortage of rice in India. And you were not allowed to have a large quantity of rice, but we were doing Food for Life in Bombay. Devotee got arrested for having too much rice, more than his quota. And they were talking with, so then after that they just had a Kadasi rice every day. They didn't have rice. Very austere in India. So Prabhupada was asking, well, first of all, Prabhupada asked the devotees, why is there shortage of rice in India? And they said, because we're sending it all to Russia and they're giving us weapons and things. Russia is giving nice things, technology to India, and India is giving all the grains to Russia. And Prabhupada said, well, why are there no grains in Russia? And Harikesh said, well, because they're not worshipping the Lord. There's a scarcity of grains. There's no rain. There's no rain in Russia. And Prabhupada said, yes, because they are not doing sacrifice. Therefore, there is no rain. And so, and then in India, we also didn't have rice too, because we were sending it to Russia. But when there is rain, when there is sacrifice, then the rain comes. And Prabhupada was talking about, if there's no rain, then there won't be grains, and the rich men cannot do their philanthropic activities. So what's another reason? Krishna is not hungry, Krishna is not poor, he doesn't need our food, he doesn't need our opulence, he's not impressed with our renunciation. Why should we offer? We have to give what we are holding back, and that is our love. It's the bhakti he's looking for. In America, some of my friends would go out on book distribution, traveling, Sankirtan. And sometimes they would go into a supermarket, into the shop where they sell food, and they would offer the whole supermarket to Krishna and eat whatever they wanted from the supermarket. So, yes, different ways to offer everything. My son, when he was young also, he was lazy. I said, you should offer it to the deities. And he would just take the pot and say, Krishna, please eat. He wouldn't put it in front of the deities. He would just take it, and then he would say, thank you very much. And he would eat. And I said, why don't you put it in front of the deities? He said, Krishna's everywhere, don't you know? So, another way to offer your food. I hope Krishna accepted it. But, so we want to offer everything, and actually nothing is ours. Not only nothing belongs to us, everything belongs to Krishna, but not everything belongs to the pure devotees too. It's there because they're servants of Krishna. In 4th canto, 22nd chapter, Pritha Maharaj, after hearing from the Kumaras, he wanted to offer something to them. It's my duty to offer something, but all I have are remnants of the food taken by great saintly persons. So that's how the Kshatriyas would feel, that everything belongs to the Brahmanas, and we're just the caretakers of the property of Krishna and the Brahmanas. And so out of love, the devotee gives whatever. Sudama Vipra, he didn't have anything to give. He borrowed some broken chipped rice. He didn't want to offer it, but Krishna saw it, and he snatched it from his hand. And so there's a verse that Prabhupada quotes in this purport that is, I think, probably quoted. I think, it's paraphrased by Lord Chaitanya in verse 43, so that will be the class tomorrow. Itavat janma safalyam dehinam iha dehishu pranarartatya vacha shaya acharanam sada. And that means that you should give your life, pranar, artha, your money, your intelligence, and your words for the benefit of others. So Prabhupada in a lecture explains this verse. He says, pranar means you should give your life. Now, if you cannot give your life, then okay, artha, give some money. Now, if you think you have no money, pranar, artha, tiya, use your intelligence to spread Krishna consciousness. If you think you have no intelligence, then there's one thing left. There's vacha. You can preach, as Prabhupada said in this purport. Just tell somebody to chant Hare Krishna, anybody. On the street, just stop somebody and ask, can you help me pray for peace? That's what they're doing in Germany. So the preacher, he sees all living entities as parts of Krishna, but unfortunately they're not offering themselves in service to Krishna. So Prabhupada, he saw everybody that I need to engage them in Krishna's service. He wants to offer the people, not only the things, he wants to offer the people to Krishna. Prabhupada had that vision, and he engaged all of us, both rich and poor. And some of us had nothing to give. We were hippies. We didn't have to renounce anything because we had nothing to renounce. And when we joined, Jayananda, he gave his savings to Prabhupada to print Nectar Devotion. Brahmananda also gave his life savings when he joined, and he met Prabhupada. And when he gave Prabhupada the money, the $5,000, he was looking at the Bhagavatams, the 3-volume set, and he asked Prabhupada, could I have that set? And Prabhupada said, that will be extra. So Brahmananda said it was much harder for him to get that $16 than the $5,000 that he gave before. So yes, Prabhupada was expecting everything from us. He didn't allow us to get away with anything. We couldn't have anything in return. Jai Panchatattva. So another reason we should offer to Krishna is out of friendship. We have that verse in Nectar of Instruction, Dadati Pratigrihati, Guyam Akyati Prichati, Bhakti Bhachanti Chaiva Sadviham Prati Lakshana. That we should offer gifts in charity, accept charitable gifts, reveal one's mind, inquire confidentially, accept prasad and offer prasad, the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. Now, as early as 1966, Prabhupada said in a lecture that now we have to make friendship with Krishna also. Just like if you want to introduce yourself in a loving manner, you have to make some connection with him. So we have to prepare ourselves if we want to go to Krishna Loka, how we can love Krishna. And Prabhupada mentioned there's 6 loving exchanges, nectar instruction. So we have to deal with Krishna also with the 6 loving exchanges. And the beginning is offering. So we offer bhoga, we accept prasadam, we offer gifts, we accept those gifts in return, we accept garlands. And we should reveal our mind confidentially. Nectar instruction, Nectar of Devotion says we should reveal our mind, and then we pray, and then we get answers also. When I just joined in 1970, it was the tradition in our Boston temple that we would go up in front of the deity once a week and reveal our mind. Okay, I've done this service for you this week, and I had these problems, and we would just tell everything to the deities. Now that was our tradition. We would reveal our mind confidentially, and we would pray, and we would get answers to our problems and our questions. So how to love Krishna? Prabhupada said in a lecture on this verse, we must practice how to love Krishna. You have to get up early in the morning. You don't like to, but you think, I will get up early to satisfy Krishna. That's the beginning. Then, okay, I have to chant 16 rounds. Prabhupada said, you may be lazy. You may not want to do it. But if you want to love Krishna, you must do it. So this is from Teachings of Queen, TQE, whatever that means. The Quest for Elevation. Anyway, so he says in the beginning you have to learn how to love Krishna. When you come to the state of love, then you're not forced. It's not like you have to. I can't wait to put my hand in my bead bag and chant Hare Krishna. I can't wait to go to Mangal Arati. Krishna's waiting for me. I should hurry. If you go to Jaipur in Rajasthan, everybody goes to Mangal Arati at the Radha Govinda temple in Jaipur. You'll hear people running down the streets calling Govinda, 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 4 o'clock in the morning. So this is enthusiasm. This is enthusiasm. This is love. And so there are 2 attitudes. The impersonalist is thinking, I am God, and he renounces nice food, but the devotee, he eats quite nicely. He offers everything to Krishna. He enjoys everything as the prasadam of the Lord. So, Prabhupada was trying to teach us this, how to worship, how to love God. Because in today's modern world, people have forgotten God. When he arrived in London airport, everyone was bowing down to him. And one reporter said, "Do you think you are God?" Prabhupada said, "Spiritual master should be given all respects as God. But if he thinks he's God, then he's dog." So the reporters could never say anything in return to Prabhupada. He would always defeat them. They couldn't defeat him. And so Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita, he says, impersonalist, being impersonal, cannot eat. Whereas an impersonalist tries to avoid good eatables, the devotee knows Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, and he eats all that is offered to him in devotion. So what is the best offering is kirtan, actually. Kirtan is, we offer our heart, we offer our mind, we offer our tongue. Everything is engaged. There is if you study the lotus feet of Radharani, you will see one sacrificial altar on her lotus feet, also on Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, on their lotus feet. And this mark means that just as the universe is nourished by Brahmins offering fire sacrifice, those who offer their minds in sacrifice to their feet stimulate universal nourishment. And not only that, this altar means the universe is the form of Krishna, and the offering is the form of Radha. So this perfect union is indicated by the mark of a sacrificial altar. So when we offer to Krishna, we're uniting Radha and Krishna. We're taking the things of this universe, Krishna's body, and we're offering it. And the offering is Radharani because it's with Bhakti, offering with love. So when I was Pujari in Calcutta, Prabhupada said, all the service you're doing is actually being done under the direction of Srimati Radharani. It's her, she is in charge, she is in control here. And so, and that's what Nectar Devotion says. Rupa Goswami quotes, Daivim Prakriti Amashitaha from Bhagavad Gita 9th chapter. That we take shelter, the Mahatmas take shelter of the Daivi Prakriti Radharani. And so the sages of Naimishranya had the same realization while they were performing their fire sacrifice. So we just begun this performance of this fruitive activity of sacrificial fire without certainty of its result. Due to many imperfections in our action, our bodies have become black from the smoke, but we are factually pleased by the nectar of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead Govinda, which you are distributing. So that was Sutta was speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, and they were very pleased with that. So Prabhupada, what do we do? Okay, now we're offering to Krishna, we're engaged, we're taking prasadam. So what do we do next? Prabhupada says we should preach. Lord Chaitanya says, Bharata Bhumatihaya Lamanushi Janma Jar Janma Sarka Korikoro Pora Upakar. Make yourself perfect and then help others. But even if you're not perfect, you can still tell someone. You can tell someone to chant Hare Krishna. Prabhupada says in this purport, that much you can do. So Prahlad Maharaj, he had that attitude. He said, oh my Lord, I'm not afraid of material existence. Forever I stay. I'm fully absorbed in your chanting, thoughts of your glories. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness, maintaining their families, societies, and countries. I'm simply concerned with love for them. So the Sanskrit word Maya, Sukhaya, Param, it's a burden. It's the material happiness is actually a burden. And they're working hard day and night just so they can enjoy a fraction of a second of happiness. So the devotees, they want to relieve the materialistic people of their burden. But people don't want to give up their burden. They like it very much. My son, again, Govinda, when he was 10 years old, and he was with another Gurukuli friend, and they were observing in Vrindavan. There was a big, huge ant walking around in circles on our floor. And they were looking, they were observing, not like other kids would probably smash the ant. They were saying, hey, look at that poor ant. He can't even walk straight. Let's help him. So the problem with the ant was he was carrying a huge piece of food on his back and he couldn't walk straight. So the kids, they took away the piece of food, threw it away, and the ant walked straight. So people are in the rat race, they're going around in circles, carrying huge burdens. But the devotees come and they want to relieve people of their burdens, but people are not so happy to get rid of their burdens. They think, no, I need this burden. This is very important for me to keep. So no, the devotees are very compassionate. Prahlad Maharaj was so compassionate. He was lamenting, although devotees have no lamentation, he was lamenting for the fools and rascals. And so Prabhupada said that for centuries there was no temple in Europe and America. Now there are hundreds and thousands of temples. I guess he must be seeing in the future again. I think, how many do we have? A few hundred temples maybe. Prabhupada says, now there are hundreds and thousands of temples. So he must, I guess in the future, that this is a lecture on this verse of Prahlad Maharaj. So it will increase. You cannot stop Krishna's glories. It's sure and certain, if you work sincerely for Krishna to spread his message, Bhagavad Gita, there cannot be any check. So then the next verse, Prahlad Maharaj says, my dear Lord Shingadev, I see there are many saintly persons, but they are interested only in their own deliverance, not caring for the big cities and towns. They go to the Himalayas or forests to meditate with vows of silence. They are not interested in delivering others. As for myself, however, I don't wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to shelter at your lotus feet. So Prabhupada said in the purport of that verse, the devotee's not interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest. His interest is in the busiest part of the world, where he teaches people Krishna consciousness. Then he said something really interesting. Every member of the Krishna conscious movement is interested in going door to door to try to convince people about the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, teachings of Lord Chaitanya. That is the purpose of the Hare Krishna movement. When I was on Harinam in, where was it? I think Belfast, a few weeks ago. I met one lady from Jehovah's Witness, and they go to door. That's their life. And so I asked her, so I said, are you going door to door now? She said, no, I'm kind of old for that. I just do the buses and trains. So it's not only us that's doing that. They're required actually to do that. A certain amount of days a month they have to go and preach. And so it's very interesting. And Prabhupada is saying that's the purpose of our movement too. And he's mentioning it in this purport as well. And so one of our friends was preaching in China, one of our devotees. This was before it was allowed. Now it's allowed in China. Now you can do that. But before it was allowed, they were preaching and they were just doing like kirtan. So he couldn't really speak much about the philosophy. And he was sitting, they went to a Buddhist monastery and they were having kirtan. And one of the Buddhist monks was sitting next to the devotee. And he pointed to his sika. He said, what is that? And he said, yeah, that shows that I'm following this philosophy. He said, so what is your philosophy? So very similar to yours. We see the oneness in everything. And then he says, so what do you do? He says, we go town to town, village to village to spread our philosophy. So then the Buddhist monk said, you are higher than we are because you go out. We stay in the mountains because we are afraid to go to this degraded place. He said, you are higher than us. So that's a fact, that we're interested to help others. Prahlad Maharaj says, I don't want to go alone. I want to help others, deliver others as well. So, again in 1966, in a lecture, and even before there were any followers, or maybe a handful of followers were there, And Prabhupada said, so now you have heard the philosophy. We require hundreds and thousands of gurus to go out and spread this philosophy all over the world. So he's looking at these hippies and saying, you all have to go out and spread this. As he incorporated international society, it was just a little storefront with a handful of hippies. He called it international society. And where, Prabhupada had a vision, and he's expressing this vision here. He's Avesh, or Shakti-Avesh avatar of Lord Chaitanya, and he's spreading this movement. Without being empowered by Lord Chaitanya, you cannot preach. So Prabhupada had that Shakti. He had that Avesh. He was able to preach, he was able to transform. And that was his miracle, that was his magic, that he could make us follow him, even though we had no idea that we were going to be Krishna devotees. We had opposite idea. But somehow or other, we listened to him, and we followed him, and we dropped everything to follow him. A lot of us did. Drop everything. We dropped what we were doing, and when Prabhupada called. And so therefore we're very grateful to Srila Prabhupada for giving us this movement. And we pray for some strength that we can also preach to his satisfaction. So let's stop here. If you have any questions or comments on this. Yes?
About rains and
About the rains. Microphone, yeah.
Hare Krishna.
About the rains.
Well, yes. So here in Sweden there is very much rain. It has always been there.
You have lots of rain.
Yeah, but it's known as, I think it's
Very
one of the
degraded place.
most atheistic country
Mm-hmm.
in the world. So
Right.
now there's no.
So why is there rain in Sweden, even though it's one of the most atheistic countries in the world? Must be due to the Harinam Sankirtan. What else can you say?
But it was before also.
It was before. So they were living on their past pious activities. Because there is a certain amount of punya that countries have too. But when that is exhausted, then it's finished. Even in India, even though it's punya bhumi, it's the pious land, there were many droughts. I was just reading the Padayatra newsletter, and in one village they went to South India, it hadn't rained in 2 years, and when they did the Harinam, huge rain came. So another village invited them too, please come to our village also, we also need rain. So yes, there's a certain amount. America had a great amount of pious activities. They were very religious people, but now the punya is being exhausted. You can see now 54 million people are on food stamps. They don't have money for food, and the wealth is in the hands of 5%, most of the wealth, and people are losing their jobs, losing their houses. My father lost his house. My son was living in his car for a couple of months, and I said, how can you live in your car? He said, Mom, so many people are living in their cars. So the punya, they're losing it. They're losing the punya. And they did some pious activities. Swedish people did some pious activities in the past. Therefore, they still have some. But it will not last. It will not last. It lasts for a certain amount of time. And of course now we're helping. We're doing the Harinam Sankirtan in Sweden. So that's helping to stop it a bit. It's helping to stop. Any other questions? Yes? Or comments?
You had mentioned that in 1970 in the Boston Temple you had a tradition of going in front of the
That's right.
and revealing your mind, or
Exactly.
but
Reporting what we did for the week, asking for help.
could you you elaborate a little bit? What kind of a tradition? Where did it come from? Did it come from?
I don't know where it came from, but we were just all standing in line.
Fascinating, yeah.
Yeah, we were standing in line waiting to, and the treasurer had to come and show all the reports to the deities, also physically. He had to come and bring the records and say, okay, this much.
It sounds fantastic. I like that idea, but obviously at some point that tradition stopped.
It did stop. A lot of traditions stopped.
But I mean, you're calling it a tradition. I'm a little puzzled, I guess.
Yeah, maybe that was an exact word.
Yeah.
It was the tradition in Boston, but I think other temples did it too. I don't know, but in Boston that was what we had to do. It was established once a week. You go and tell the deities.
And you also said that Krishna would reciprocate and
Yeah,
answer.
he would reciprocate. Yeah.
Sounds like a great tradition to me.
Yeah. That was maybe just our temple's tradition. I can't speak for the other temples. I don't know, but maybe somebody who would join that in LA or something, they could say. But that was what we did. I was just a new Bhakti. Yeah?
In LA, they used to, when we were working on the small deities would come out once a week, and we would take and go off.
In LA, where I joined, I wasn't in the early days, but I heard in the early days, when he Dwarkanath, the small deities would come out, and they would take them to the press and the kitchen, they would supervise everything.
Yeah.
And and they would present the accounts before them.
Yeah. It was very personal, actually. It was very, very personal when we joined. Not so many devotees. Yes, Maharaj, thank you. Comments?
Well, while we're hearing about your experience in early ISKCON, it occurs to me, I'm wondering if you were in Calcutta at the same time that Mother Vishaka was there, that she writes about in her book.
No, I came in 72. I think hers was in 71. But the problems did continue. I mean, they were having problems. But we went through a lot of presidents, one after the other. And there were always problems with each one. Only Gargamuni could actually maintain the temple. He was good in making life. We had a lot of life members. After he left, everything was lost. Well, the money part anyway. But yeah, I remember she was talking about they were having problems. We also had problems. But because we were with the deities, we didn't feel like we were in Calcutta. We were with Krishna, in Vaikuntha. I had 20 hours seva, 4 hours sleep. So what am I going to do? I think of Krishna whole day and whole night. We were very happy to be with Radha Govinda. We had no water, we had no electricity, much. We had all these lamps. One time my sari caught on fire. I was in front of the deities. But you know, it was an adventure, like Shamsundar says in his book. It was an adventure, and we were young and we liked adventure. It was a challenge. It was wonderful. We were happy. We were very happy. Any other? Yes. Okay, now we have nobody from this side. Huh?
So,
Krishna?
You were talking about Russia being in scarcity of rain on a national level. Does this affect us on an individual level as well? And how does it do that if we don't perform sacrifices?
If you don't perform sacrifice on an individual level, yeah, it does affect you. It does affect you. Well, first you have the karma of the country. But if you engage in devotional service, then you will not be affected. You will be protected. In one purport of the prayers of Shukadeva Goswami, Prabhupada talks about Sankirtan. If you do Sankirtan, perform Sankirtan, then you will never be in want. You will have all your necessities of life. And I think the proof is in New York, they started this 6-hour Harinam with Roy Rama in New York City. And now they have a house, they have so many devotees, it works. Any other question, yes?
Well, you mentioned something about Durvasa Muni.
Oh yeah, that was in the purport. Prabhupada mentioned Durvasa Muni in the purport.
Can you tell us what that is?
Oh, the pastime Durvasa Muni. Yeah, it was Duryodhana had a plan how to make the Pandavas get into trouble with Durvasa Muni, so he would curse them. So Durvasa Muni came to visit Duryodhana's palace, and he pleased him very much. And so Durvasa Muni said, "What can I do for you?" And Duryodhana said, "Go to the Pandavas after Draupadi has finished eating her meal, because they got a special pot, cooking pot, that it will feed any number of people until Draupadi eats. And once Draupadi eats, it's finished." So Durvasa had his 60,000 disciples, Prabhupada says. They all went to eat, and Draupadi had finished eating. And Yudhisthira sent them to have baths before they eat, because you take baths at your Gayatri and then you come for lunch. So he sent them all to the river. And Draupadi, meanwhile, was calling out, "Krishna, Krishna, help!" And Krishna came. And she told the problem, there's 60,000 we have to feed, he's going to curse us. So then Krishna said, "Okay, let me see your pot, let me see if something's there." And he saw one little piece of vegetable, and he ate it. And he said, "And let the whole universe be satisfied." So meanwhile, back in the river, Durvasa Muni and his disciples felt like they couldn't eat another bite. They were full up to their neck. They can't eat. And then Krishna said, "Okay, go call them. Tell them to come and eat." And so Bhima went to call them, and as soon as they saw Bhima, they got really afraid, because Durvasa had experienced before how he offended a devotee. Now if he offends a devotee by not eating, he got really scared. They all ran away. And they ran as fast as they could to get away from offending the devotees again. So Krishna said, he just ate, Prabhupada says in the purport, he just ate a little bit and the whole universe is satisfied. And that was in Prabhupada's purport to this verse. Okay, any other questions?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Oh.
You mentioned that there are different ways of offering to Krishna. Either you can put like the bhog plate in front of the deities, or...
Oh no, I'm not telling you, I'm just saying I have observed that people do offer in different ways, but I'm not recommending that you follow these examples of my son when he was small.
I had a curiosity on that one. So in case if like there is no situation where we can actually offer to the deities, like if we're traveling or something, then if we try to offer, like devotees offer the whole supermarket, are you actually offering to the personal form, or you're offering to the impersonal form of Krishna?
Yeah, well, that's up to you, If you want to offer to the personal form, then you offer to the personal form. Generally, when we offer, we are trained to offer to the personal form of the Lord. And He is everywhere, also, the personal form.
So how can I invite Him, like personally, so not in the deity form, but like right
Just
now?
pray, chant Hare Krishna. When in doubt, chant Hare Krishna. Because that we learned from Dhruva Maharaj, who was puzzled what to do when the Vishnu Dutas came. And Prabhupada recommended, if you're puzzled what to do, chant Hare Krishna. And that will help. Then the Lord comes immediately. He's there, His holy name, He's not different. And that's personal. Any other questions? Jai Bhagavad Gita Prabhupada, Hare Krishna.